did you say?
A new world order.
New world order.
A new world order.
The new world order.
A new world order.
A new world order.
The new world order.
New world order. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
Yo, what's up? It's your boy Drew. It's Friday night, checking out that Drew World Order live. Whoa. I'm full screen here. You don't need me full screen. Let me get in the corner here. Thanks for coming. Took a couple weeks off from this version of my show. I've been working on growing that panel channel, so go follow that. Get Chalked Up. Working on, I know you guys are panel junkies, man. I see you guys all over the panel verse. I see the same chatters all over. But let's get into it. We got Toilet Bowl Earth throwing down that $9.99, which is the 666 upside down, brother. You trying to curse me? You trying to curse me in my 6'5" frame? My Costco job, make $125,000 a year as a Costco manager with my trad wife. Appreciate you. Let's go, man. Let's get into the TLDR for tonight is, let me get my chat ready. Sound check. Can I get a sound check? But I guess the TLDR is these SUPERMAX prisons, I think, are more than what they tell you, especially when you look at some of the inmates that are in there. So if you don't know what this SUPERMAX prison is, here's how they sell it to you in the official fiction. And I'm going to talk about this, and then we're going to talk more about the Unabomber who is in this prison being most likely a fictitious character, not as you're told, product of the system, and build on that conversation I had with Benton the other day. If you saw that outline and chill stream I did my Biden prediction, and I played a chat from Benton's panel show that he does every day on his channel at Benton668. He goes for about 5 hours or more every day, usually very early in the morning, and I called in. And I wanted to expand more on that idea of Unabomber not being quite who he seems. So that's who it is on the cover. It's kind of hard to see, I think. He looks like, when he blends into the rusted metal here, it's looks like an afro. Looks like a brother. But this is what they tell you this SUPERMAX is.
The SUPERMAX is a life after death. It adds punishment to the crime.
The AdMax in Florence, Colorado, the country's only federal SUPERMAX. It's known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies. It's considered the country's most secure prison.
Today there's 420 inmates in the prison. They've killed staff, they've killed guards. They've earned, if you will, the right to go to the SUPERMAX.
Sorry, there's no way to turn it down a little bit.
You're looking at people like Ramzi Yousef, the 1993 World Trade Bomber. Timothy McVeigh was there. Nichols is still there.
Let's start looking at these. I hate to pause it right away, but it's so loud too. If you look at these people and we examine the events of the past the way we examine them today, this all happened back when it was easier for them to control the narrative and people weren't aware of things like catastrophe thespians, as McKinley likes to say. I gotta really watch what I say here on this stream. So I'm not saying any of these are fake, but if you re-examine them with new eyes, you may come to a different conclusion than me, and that makes you a schizo.
Timothy McVeigh was there. Nichols.
Timothy McVeigh is famously linked to that. Someone in the chat will know it more than me. There's like an FBI agent that's still on the payroll to this day that looks just like him, but older.
McVeigh was there, Nichols is still there. The shoe bomber, the Unabomber, you can go on and on.
Soon, this could be home to the Marathon Bomber. It's closed off to the rest of the world. Inside, the most dangerous inmates are sealed off.
You're designing it so the inmates can't see the sky, intentionally. When it really hits you is that you're looking at the beauty of the Rocky Mountains in the backdrop. When you get inside, that's the last time you'll ever see it. As you're pulling up to this complex, there's shotguns in plain view, there's 9mm on this tear gas, they're going by 12 gun towers, and that's before you even say hello to anyone. You'll be in leg irons, a belly chain, handcuffs, and you're passing hundreds of cameras. It's almost
So
all
loud.
concrete. You're going to be in that box, these 84 square feet of room, most likely for the rest of your life. His life, if he goes there, is pathetic no matter how you spin it. And it's, in my opinion, far much worse than death.
That's the official fiction version of what Supermax is. Oh, my mic is quiet? I feel like I'm very loud in my headphones. Mic check, mic check. Is that a little bit better? Let me know. I was peeping that Archaics live stream today, and he was so quiet, and the chat kept telling him it was quiet, and then every one that said it's quiet, and a groveler would come in and say, no, it's not quiet. It was quiet, so don't feel bad telling me it's quiet. It's fine. Mic is loud now. Too loud, or it's good? Smiley says better. All right, man, so this Supermax here, it's out here. They call it ADX Florence. It's out in Colorado. So it's pretty crazy looking when you look at it on this, just the design of what it is. So I'm looking at this place as, obviously everything is like multifaceted, right? It's not just one thing that's going on there. So it probably is a place where there's real jails, or real prison, I mean, and they have, real hard time guys going there. But I don't know, I mean, there's no way to know, and it's pure speculation, but I'm sure there's more going on here as well. To me, it's probably something like a new, or another version of like Area 51. Damn. Smiley's saying turn it up a little more. I will if you guys say I need it up a little more. In my headphones, it's super loud, but I don't know if that matches what you hear on the output. Maybe I'll just speak up. EBT says, wait, are you saying Supermax is fake? Well, that would be against the YouTube terms and conditions. So it's not fake. Again, there's probably a prison there with some hard time dudes there. I wouldn't doubt that at all. But then when you get into some of these other guys that are in there, you can see there's definitely kind of a narrative. But let's just look, I mean, geographically, it's in the middle of nowhere, right? There's nothing here. You have the, almost like the baseball, Masonic diamond type shapes, all kinds of stuff going on here. You have the pentagon shape, almost similar to the home plate of a baseball field. Look at when you get in here. There's no way to really know, I guess, what's going on here. Tons of like home plate, pentagram type shapes. And this, I guess this would just be a way to have a very secure government facility, top secret facility for whatever, and pass it off as something else maybe. You know, not get the Area 51 lurkers going there and stuff like that. And when you look at here's some of the famous inmates that are in there. Is the mic good? I'm still waiting. Still waiting for someone other than Smiley. Not that I don't trust Smiley, I just want to hear. So it's on 37 acres. America's highest security federal prison. The U.S. Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility. The controversial penitentiary on the outskirts of Florence, a small rural town once founded as a pass-through for coal-carrying trains in the 1800s. First started housing inmates in 1994. Today, ADX is home to 361 of the country's most high-profile criminals. Prisoners here, we're talking serial killers, terrorists, mobsters, cult leaders, drug kingpins, and those deemed too violent to live among a general prison population. Inmates spend 23 hours or more a day isolated in a soundproof 7 by 12 foot cell, outfitted with a single 4-inch slit for a window. Due to these conditions, the ADX has been at the center of a contentious debate about human rights and solitary confinement's effects on mental health. As Robert Hood, a former warden of ADX, told the New York Times in 2015, this place is not designed for humanity. It says, in fact, the decision by a London court in early 2021 not to extradite Julian Assange to American soil can be partially attributed to his possible assignment to ADX. The judge, Vanessa whatever, said her impression of the WikiLeaks founder mental state was such that it would be oppressive to extradite him to the United States. The ruling implied that 23-hour-a-day isolation would be too iron-fisted for someone exhibiting depressive and suicidal behavior. Assange is currently jailed in southeast London. So El Chapo's there. But this is something I've kind of looked into in the past, and I've been meaning to make a video of it. And there's not really, it's basically all speculation. There's nothing I can really do to tie it, any like smoking guns to say this is what's going on here. That it's some top secret government facility. Possibly a small part of it is a prison. But when you look at the inmates, we'll get there in a second, you'll kind of see a reoccurring theme. It says no one has ever escaped the ADX. However, there has been one homicide within its walls, which is why it's been called the Alcatraz of the Rockies. Most prisoners get out only in death, via transfer to another facility, or in very few cases, if they live long enough to see their release date. So these are some of the names. You might be familiar with them. We'll go through some of them in a minute. Terry Nichols, domestic terrorist, Oklahoma City bomber. He's serving 161 consecutive life sentences. Why don't they just say like 100 years or something? Robert P. Hansen's a Soviet spy serving 15 consecutive life sentences. Ramzi Ahmed Yusuf, one of the 1993 World Trade Center bombers, serving life plus 240 years. 7 people were known to be responsible for that World Trade Center attack in 1993. They detonated a 1,300-pound nitrate hydrogen gas bomb. Only 6 were caught. Another guy is still at large, and there's a $5 million reward for information that leads to his arrest. Yeah, was El Chapo real or just a CIA agent? Kevin Mooring says. Well, we'll get into kind of all these guys tonight, or at least these are the surface level guys that have been on TV. They have court cases, or like, they were like news stories and everything like that. So it's possible there's people in there we've never heard of. That's what I would think. But then the people that are here that are attached to mainstream media, multi-day stories, to me that brings it into question. Here's a guy that's a master escapist, Richard Lee McNair. Ted Kaczynski, we're going to go into him a little more later. Serial killer named Dr. Death, Michael Swengo. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the Boston bombers there. Chicago gang leader Larry Hoover. But the only thing I found when I really looked into this, my very first time I initially looked into this was not all, but a big portion of the high profile cases, the people that are in there were represented by this woman named Judy Clark. So she defended, we'll get into her whole list here, and you'll kind of see a pattern of all the crimes of the victims and everything like that. And the narratives, I guess, is what it is. So I think it's pretty interesting that this one lady is able to get in there and be the lawyer for, or the attorney for all these people on death row and everything. And then they say they call her Saint Judy, I guess, because she's able to like get these people out, not in death, but then they end up in that ADX SUPERMAX prison conveniently. In her latest one here, it says, whenever this was written, was that Boston bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. So what this lady reminds me of the Ben Crump, the guy that's the black guy attorney for all the TV, George Floyd and all those families that are affected by like the police shoot the black guy or the black woman or whatever. Benjamin Crump's always there to represent them. This is the same kind of thing, in my opinion, but from a different type of psyop or whatever. Well, it's all interconnected, actually, as you will see. Look at her here. Is this a man? Look at this thing here. What is that? Man, I cannot stand all that. You can't even click a thing anymore without like pop-ups coming in your face. Yeah, Prince Hall, Ben Crump, know thy enemy, yes. But let's look at her list of clientele. And you'll see a little pattern, I think. We'll go through them a little bit at a time. I appreciate everyone that's here this Friday night. Saturday night, Sunday night. I think we'll do the Abyss Sunday night panel on the backup channel, Get Chalked Up. And I'd like to talk about water. Does anyone have any stories they want to share about their experiences with water? Like, do you prefer distilled water, Kangen water, spring water? Do you have any results? Anything you've shown? I know there's a small little debate in the truth community about the most superior form of water. So if you do have something like that, join me Sunday night on the panel channel, Get Chalked Up. And we'll do it late around this time at night, not 8-9 o'clock at night Eastern time. You can join and tell your stories of water. Or where's this other one? I have a number you can call. Where's the damn thing? The Honey Bun Hotline. Where did it go? I'll pull it up by the end of the show. This Judy Clark, this criminal attorney, here's some of her most high-profile cases. Ted Kaczynski, which everyone's familiar with him, the Unabomber. And that's who we're going to talk about more tonight. So I wanted to skip him and we'll go to Eric Rudolph. I never really heard of this guy. I guess I didn't really follow the news at this time. Do I have that? Thought I had that video up of that guy. One second, my bad. I thought I had that all set. Eric Rudolph bombed the Centennial Park or something like that, and it was here it is, a little 1-minute thing we can watch and hear about him, and you kind of see a profile. You'll start to see a profile being built on the types of clients that are defended by this Judy Clark.
It was one of the largest searches of its kind. Where was Eric Robert Rudolph? That was the question that for years could not be answered.
I wouldn't say it's tough, but it's a job that we have to do. It's our assignment, and we have to carry it out until it's over.
Search teams combed the mountains of North Carolina looking for any sign that Rudolph was there. Nobody believed he would leave.
He's from this area. He knows the area incredibly well. He grew up here. He is a survivalist. He can live up there forever.
There were
So just like Ted Kaczynski, this guy's a survivalist. So a big part of this programming you'll see tonight, I think, goes from in the 80s, and they programmed you that the terrorists were Middle Eastern Muslim people, and like Back to the Future and all the movies and everything like that. And then it seems whenever, I'm not sure when the exact change happened, but then they switched it to, it's like white male, survivalist, etc. You'll see as we build these profile.
reports he was spotted buying groceries at this buy-load. Officers checked his home, lights were on, the front door was open, but he was not there. His truck was later found deep in the woods.
And nobody's bothering you, right?
Well,
In 1996, the search began.
The bombing at Centennial Olympic Park this morning was an evil act of terror.
Over time, investigators learned more and more about the men they were so desperate to find. Rudolph is believed to belong to the Christian identity, known as a white supremacist sect, which is anti-gay, anti-Semitic, and anti-foreigner. It was.
So there you go. Christian, white male, anti-gay, anti-Semitic, anti-foreigner. And this was probably, was that around the time of the Tea Party? Or maybe the early days of the Tea Party or something, where they wanted to build this profile that now when you see a bombing or something on TV, I've told this story in the past, but you know, back in the day, well, when 9/11 happened, literally the dude I worked with told me, he's like, oh, I know it's that Osama bin Laden. Before anyone said anything, I didn't watch the news, but the dude I worked with was like, oh, I know it's that Osama bin Laden. And then, obviously, you know, that's who they pinned it on. But then, I think it was 12 years later when they did the Boston bombing, this lady at my work who was a huge liberal, she was convinced it's like a right-wing, like, Proud Boys or whatever. I don't know the exact words she used back then, but she was like, oh, I know it's those right-wing patriots or whatever the word she used, though. So in 12 years, they programmed this one lady to go from, you know, those Middle Easterns are the terrorists to now it's white domestic terrorists or whatever. And these types of stories are what cement that in people's mind. EBT says they blame Whitey first.
The makeup of the bombs that led investigators to connect the bombings in Birmingham and Atlanta.
And we think that this is an opportune time for us to report to the public, but also to request their assistance in identifying the person or persons who may have had these components.
The search itself lasted 5 years. One of the FBI's most wanted, now no longer on the run. Nigel Robertson, WIFF News 4.
Yeah, Narnia K69 says, Boston bombing Jeff Bauman wheelchair photo. It's still one of the most realistic things that's ever been seen. Because it definitely wouldn't be anything other than that. And then since I had never really heard of this, I don't really remember it. I did see one other thing that was kind of some funny propaganda when they were pushing this story. Where did it go? Right here. Just watch a little bit of this of how they tried to portray this.
Alabama abortion clinic bombing suspect Eric Rudolph is still on the loose. Investigators think he's taken refuge in caves and old mines in a densely forested part of
So this was in 1998, this one here.
North Carolina. If he is living off the land. How long can he last in the wilderness? Tom Brown is joining us. He is a survivalist who is here to shed some light on this. You also have written many books and run one of the largest wilderness survival and tracking companies in the country, the largest. How does a person, if they're not planning to go on the run, stay alive?
Actually, survival's quite easy. My first level of classes, which only last a week, most of my students could go out into pretty much any wilderness with nothing and survive.
What is it? The key is what? Learning what's edible and what's not?
The key is first shelter. That's the primary one. Then water, then fire, then food. And most of the time, if you know what you're doing, you can get fat. Really.
You're kidding me. Now, once you shelter, meaning you look for places that are already constructed, or learn how to build your own shelter?
Construct your own. Probably one of the best is called a debris hut. Pile of leaves held together with a skeleton. You crawl into it. It's like a big sleeping bag.
And certainly this time of year, that would be much easier to survive in right now.
Definitely.
North Carolina.
So they want you to be really scared of the guy that knows how to camp, knows how to live off the land, and create this. This is still in the early stages of transforming people's programming from accepting the Middle Eastern as the terrorist to now it's the white domestic terrorist.
A pretty easy spot to do that, to find the water, and you've got the rivers running through there. When a person goes out and they want to slip away, not be found, what is the key that usually a tracker such as yourself will look for when trying to find that person?
Every little nuance.
What slip do they make?
Every little nuance in the ground tells a tracker something. What you have to do first is establish a fresh trail, and that's done by cutting track, making large circles until you can pick up a set of tracks. And then simply follow him with your eyes where he walks.
How do you find a track? I mean, I know you look for the
skip ahead a little
bit. Basically, and then try to find them.
Track is a pretty big track in the woods.
How much experience do you have to have in survival skills and knowing what a tracker is going to look for to actually lose yourself in the wilderness?
Actually, not much. Look at it this way. You hear of a scenario, a hunter goes missing. Thousands of people go looking for him. This guy's trying to be found, and they can't find him. And he's trying to be found. Imagine if you're not trying to be found. You can hide in so many areas. You just be careful of every move you make. But he's on borrowed time, Mr. Rudolph.
And
so if you're just going to go camping with your family, be careful because bombers might be out there.
Staying in a cave, if he is able to find a cave, would that be one of the tougher places for a tracker to? If he doesn't have to come out very often.
I've always heard a cave is a grave. You're not supposed to live in a cave because you definitely can't light a fire in a cave. You'll kill yourself. So if anyone in here, if you're running from the feds later, don't hide in a cave. At least that's what I've heard.
Still in that area. And with all their high-tech equipment, dogs and trackers, he's got to have some really good hiding place.
Closing up, how fast can a person move if they're trying to get out of an area in a day?
Oh, it depends on how much fear. I've seen people do 30 and 40 miles within a 24-hour period, almost at a dead trot.
All right. Thank you very much.
I just thought that was kind of interesting in the way they scare you of survivalists there back in the late 90s. Let's go back to this Judy Clark's clientele. We heard of that guy. Got Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. Now this guy was part of it. This is the guy. She defended this guy. And he's now at that SUPERMAX prison, that ADX. Zacharias Moussaoui, or however you say it. This is, I think, the only dude that was, like, tried and convicted by the United States. Yeah, only person ever convicted in U.S. court in connection with the September 11th attacks. So she was able to get this guy into that federal prison. That other guy we just looked at, he's in that federal prison, the same one. And this guy here was, he was taking training courses in Eagan, Minnesota. That's literally the next city right next to Bloomington where the Mall of America is. Where I say they're going to fly a plane into that bitch. Predictive programming. Yeah, let's go to that one, I guess, because Kim already blew it. You blew it! Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. Listen to how they say this guy's name. So this was the Boston bomber guy. And I don't know, maybe if you're newer to this stuff, if you never really looked into the Boston bomber one, it's hilarious, actually. All the clues they leave in there for you to find, like, intentionally.
Sentence of Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. He is one of the brothers.
If you listen to how they say his name, they say jokers are naive. They kind of twist it up a little. It's such a joke name.
Sentence of Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. He is one of the brothers. Sentence of Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. The death sentence of Dzhokhar Tsarnaev. He is one of the brothers who carried out the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing that killed 3 people, injured hundreds, including 17 people who lost limbs in the attack. Let's go to our colleague Jessica Schneider. She joins us now. So,
I hate these CNN links because you can't. The volume's all or nothing. You can't turn it down. You can just mute it. No, that enemy says that poor kid was a patsy of epic proportions. So Judy Clark is the one that defended that guy. Another guy here is this. I never heard of this guy, man. I'm not big into the serial killers, though, but it's the Joseph Edward Duncan III. He was some serial killer. So I don't know if that's real or if that's like some made-for-TV, one of these true crime mom type stories or what. But I don't think this guy, so not every single guy that she tries goes to that Supermax prison, but a lot of the big name ones do. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, Ted Kaczynski, Eric Rudolph, Zacharias Moussaoui. She also defended this guy, the Jared Lee Lawner, whatever his name is. Now, was this Square Peg Divergent's husband? The guy that said we're one brain? We're one brain, but we have 2 bodies? So this is the guy that shot Gabrielle Giffords. And now she comes out and, I mean, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. There's a special place in hell for this woman. And I guess I got to play it, man. But he's not in the Supermax prison, but he is defended by that Judy Clark. That's why, to me, it seems like all the guys that are kind of like the, how do I say it, man? Psyope? Can I say that without saying it's not real? This is the attorney they put on them. Is this Judy Clark? And now if these are like, especially the people that go to the people that go to the Supermax prison, I would think that now they just basically get memory hold. So if they are some type of agent or whatever, you can still write them. There's an address. They can even write you back. But then there's a reason why these people are gone. Well, meanwhile, they could be on other assignments or something like that. If that makes any sense, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, Giffords is a terrible actress. Fight. I gotta play it. I've meant to do like a whole show on it. I genuinely get mad about this one though. If you don't know, she was shot in Arizona years ago. 2011 it says, in Tucson. So this is how she used to look. And now they show you this thing. Doesn't even look like the same person anymore. Now it looks like that. Shot in the head. Left for dead. After Barack Obama visited her in the hospital, then she came to. And that's part of Jurassic Liar's theory, that they're subtly trying to paint Barack Obama as some type of like healer or like, you know, Antichrist type figure or something, that has that ability or whatever. And if you've never seen this thing, it's unreal. Let me go to YouTube and type it in. You just got to get just a little taste of it is all you need. And she's married to an astronaut. So she's married to this astronaut guy that is the twin.
She was a respected member of Congress. Then tragedy turned her into the face of a movement.
Is she the head wound? She's going to want to come and get your guns?
Tracy is talking with Gabby Giffords and her husband, Senator Mark Kelly, as they look back and...
That guy's a senator now? I didn't even know that. This was from 7 months ago. So that's the dude that's the astronaut, and he's got a twin brother.
Press ahead.
Oaks Gold Smiley said, so bad if you've never really looked at it through that perspective.
The sun will come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow.
Damn, now she almost talks normal. I gotta go back a couple years. She was talking so slow.
Come what may, tomorrow.
If you spend some time with Gabby Giffords, you'll likely be treated to a tune or two.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River.
But in her speech therapy,
it's like a retard, like Forrest Gump.
Sessions, finding her words can still be a challenge.
Oh, but she can just sing, no problem. But when it's time to talk, all of a sudden.
But the whole crew was fantastic.
Because of a brain disorder known as aphasia.
Aphasia really sucks. The words are there in my brain. I just can't get them out.
And yet...
Oh, yeah, she's changed it up now. She's a lot more faster and clearer than she used to be. I'll go back and play one from, like, a few years ago. They're trying to, like, portray that she's healing or something, probably.
She has never lost her voice.
Stopping gun violence takes courage.
Or her unusual...
Stopping gun violence takes courage.
Optimism.
My spirit's strong as ever. I'm still fighting to make the world a better place, and you can too.
Giffords has...
Man, that is... Who watches that shit and is like, oh, they do, though. They're like, oh, my God, it touches their heart, and they can't believe it. That's like a bad impression of a retard.
Been fighting every day since January 8th, 2011.
Damn, EBT said, is that Tina Fey? Holy shit.
Place and you can...
I think you're right.
When a gunman opened fire at her Congress on Your Corner event in Tucson, Arizona. 19 people were shot. 6 died. Gabby Giffords.
That's definitely not the same person of the original.
Was shot in the head.
In terms of your recovery, how do you feel about where you're at?
I'm optimistic. It will be a long, hard haul, but I'm optimistic.
Oh, yeah.
That spirit is what made the former House Democrat a rising political star.
The immediate need for a comprehensive immigration reform package.
And now powers her push to end gun violence.
Too many children are dying. We must do something.
Maybe it's like an android or something. That's why it's talking so crazy. She's definitely talking way fast. Let me see if I can I don't want to stay on this for too long, but if I can find one that's like a couple years old or something. Because she used to talk way slower. Oh, here's her first interview.
Now to Diane Sawyer's exclusive.
11 years ago.
Giffords, we all remember that weekend back.
And 3 feet away.
It's great to see you.
Is that Owen?
And moments of despair.
Gabby, are you frustrated?
Duff.
Gabrielle Giffords is too tough to let this beat her.
The team
Let me hear her talk.
to this. So much distance traveled, unafraid of the distance to come.
How do you feel?
Pretty good.
Is it painful? Is it hard? No,
it's difficult.
Gabrielle Giffords, Mark Kelly, a chance to ask our questions. Does she think she'll run for Congress again? And what does she remember of that gun, the bullet, the day she was...
This video's already over. I just want one from like, here we go, 5 years ago. Perfect. This is so bad. One more little clip here. I'll move on.
Together.
Democrats, Republicans
They need to work together.
work together.
You know, understanding that we're all in this together and that we need to kind of join together to solve our nation's problems.
As you remember, 2011, that was the last time that we had a shooting like we did yesterday, and
Come together. It's a time.
Party lines.
Now is the time to come together. Be responsible. Democrats, Republicans, everyone.
And it's a challenging time.
It's somewhat similar to like Stephen Hawking's, is just you get this sympathetic character and wheel him out there. And then people, like, their brain turns off because they're so bleeding heart and sympathetic, I think. So the shooter of her, supposedly, like that's what I'm saying. If this whole thing is like an integrated op, then, you know, the guy that would do that, or they would tell you would do that, it's just a good place for him to have cover or whatever, to be laying low, and while he's out doing something else, you can just say he's here. That guy particularly isn't in that ADX prison, SUPERMAX prison, but I mean, it'd be the same thing, really. Yeah, look at these weird creatures. Yeah, definitely all weirdo looking people. Yeah, when you don't watch this
as an
news,
attack on all who serve and on
it is very weird when you go back and watch it. And I used to watch this stuff all the time.
all who participate in our democracy. What was your initial reaction when you heard about the shooting?
I'm so sad. So sad.
I think it's also
just talks like a little kid or something like that. So another guy in that SUPERMAX prison is El Chapo. So here you have the same thing again. You have this guy here. This is the original El Chapo, or the guy they showed you when he first started coming around. And now this is the dude they show you. It doesn't even look like the same dude at all. This looks like Pete Rose to me. Is this not Pete Rose? Let's bring him up. Got to do a side-by-side here. They're like, dude, you do this for us and we'll put you in the Hall of Fame with your Asian tranny wife. Where's like a good picture of him now? Let's see. Let's show you the tranny wife here. Where's the... Just trying to see him now. Pete Rose. El Chapo is Mr. McCloskey. He looks a little old here compared to the... Maybe he's not Chapo. He looks a little too old. Maybe. Let's see. Where's the Chapo one? Bam. Zoom in here. Maybe not. Pretty similar, but definitely not the same guy they show you from here. Or at least to me, it doesn't look like it. And again, you always got to ask yourself, with like I showed you when I made that video about the, what's his name? Elian Gonzalez. An important thing to look at is understand like where the camera is, and they know the camera's there. What I really wanted to show for this stream, and I wasn't able to find it, is I remember watching this short little documentary or whatever that was about, or it was just a video, I guess. It was about how the WWE wrestlers, how they train in what they call it NXT, like the minor leagues, and the main important thing they teach them is like where the cameras are and how to look at certain cameras at certain times. Because when you see that, you can see the same kind of thing happening in these like photo shoots. They just know right where the camera is to pose for it. But this guy escaped prison before, and now that's why they say now he's in that SUPERMAX prison. His wife's even in prison for trafficking. See, this does not look like the same dude. This looks even younger than the other dude when he had the mustache. I don't get it. So all these could just be like same thing. Ops like Elon Musk frontmen for just whatever, for these drug trades, cartels or whatever. There's just a dude that's the face of it. And they can just attribute everything to this guy. Or it's just 100% made up. I don't know. But I believe it's 100% real. Only Schizo would believe it's not real. Is his wife Marina Abramovich tinfoil said? I think so. So that's this dude, El Chapo. He's in that ADX. So it's all these dudes, man. Who else did I have on? Oh, this lady too. Here's another one from the Judy Clark, the defender lady, whatever, the attorney. She defended this guy from the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting. So here you have another one, an anti-Semitic terror attack at the Tree of Life in Squirrel Hill, Pittsburgh, 2018. Robert Gregory Bowers was that dude's name. And he in the Supermax? Let's see. Oh, he's still going through the trial, it looks like. 36 charges, Pennsylvania State Court. The Tree of Life. So they make sure to get the, what do you call it, like anti-Semitism, racial division and everything like that. And you have it here again with another one of her clients, the Susan Smith. Now this is the lady that drowned her kids in the bathtub, murdering her two sons, 3-year-old and 14-month-old, drowning them in the lake is what it was. She drowned the kids in a lake. And then she blamed, she said a black guy carjacked her and kidnapped the sons and killed them. So that was like the racial division that'd be sowed by this. So even if this thing, like, it could be a mix of, real and fake or whatever, like, since they know that story would sow racial division, then they bring it into the mainstream, like the zeitgeist. Know the enemy said she let the car roll into the lake from a boat ramp. She had the duper's delight on her new... I don't really remember this one. Let me look it up on her interview. Damn, is this her now? No. Why do all these people look so different? That can't be the same person. Duper's delight. Let me see.
Counts of murder. Police say Smith admitted killing her sons, 3-year-old Michael and Alexander, who was just over a year old, drowned. In West Palm Beach, Florida.
Hey, shout out Chalk Body outline on the screen there.
And he just took off, but he had a gun, and my big thing is they were screaming, hollering, crying, and I'm just scared that he just lost his patience or something.
I plead to the guy.
Yeah, no tears. You lost your 2 kids this old and not one tear or anything. Completely unbelievable.
To the man, me and my wife plead to him to please return our children to us safely and unharmed. We love our children very much, and we want them returned to us safe and sound.
Pray even now for their safe return.
Thank you.
Was last seen wearing a red and white striped outfit and a blue and red coat.
So this was the 90s, mid-90s, I guess.
Slow moving. I have to apologize. There's nothing more that can be done for that.
But like I say, it's a classic investigation that could not be run any different anywhere else.
I'm heading this way. Yeah. Pray most of all for them, and that they are being taken care of, and that they are safe, and that they will return home safely.
I want to say to my baby that your mama loves you so much, and your daddy and his whole family love you so much. And you guys have got to be strong, because you are, I just know, I just feel in my heart that you're okay, but you got to take care of each other.
Damn. I can't even imagine trying to go on TV and talk if your kids that were missing, and then much less no tears, no emotion. So who knows if that one was, I don't care enough to look into it more, but I guess it could be real, right? And then they just kind of incorporated into that. But it could also just be 100% made up. Okay, we did this. We did Jokers Are Naive. I don't know. You want to look at that for a second? I feel like there's some newer people, not really in these chats, but newer people getting into these conspiracies and all that stuff. It's kind of hard, though, because you can't just come out and call a spade a spade. You got to tiptoe around. Boston Bomber. There was this hat guy that was like in all the... I guess I'm going to have to shy away from it just because it is what it is.
Anderson Cooper 360.
But this hat guy kind of became a celebrity, the guy with the cowboy hat.
Explain what happened yesterday. You had people running here in honor of your sons. When the blast went off, what did you do?
Well, I was right in front of the first blast, and then...
Yeah, this is the same dude that's wearing the cowboy hat, I'm pretty sure.
Right in the street underneath
that's
the
him.
stage.
Yeah. I remember his name now, because I looked into this one hard. Like, I was already... Basically, where I was and looking into all this stuff was right before the one that they call... that Alex Jones got fined billions of dollars on. Right before that one, I had determined, like, yeah, all this shit is BS. And then, like, right when that one happened, I was like, okay, it might be real, right? So I was, like, addicted to looking into it. And then it broke down as soon as you looked into it. So then I knew this one from the very first day, what was going on. And it's so obvious, and then you could see them. I don't know if I can really show the videos that... But if you just do a simple search, maybe not even on YouTube anymore, you might have to go to BitChute or something.
First reaction with the first bomb.
Yeah, that Smiley, read Smiley's comment, he's got it.
Was to run into all the crowd.
Yeah, and the reason they blurring his legs here, they say he blew his legs up, but when you see it, it's laughable. And this guy actually worked at a Costco. This guy, what was his name? I can't remember his name, but then there was like this, he was in like the little Costco magazine and everything when I was working there. And I was like, God, this guy probably lost his legs in the war or something. He was the dude sitting at the door clicking you in every day as you came in wearing long pants or something. How would you ever know?
Crowd, there was anger trying to help see.
Yeah, Narnia says, ask him how much blood a severed femoral artery would usually spurt all over his clean clothes. Yeah, I think people that have never seen that, they can't comprehend like how much blood comes out and how fast it comes out.
What we can do at the time, you know. And
Are you trained to do that? Because, I mean, a lot of people's reaction would be to run away.
Well, I'm a member of the Red Cross, the Massachusetts Bay
The Red Cross
group, and I'm sort of trained in some way, you know, to disasters, you know.
I'm trained
And when you
in
ran
some
into
type
the
of
car,
way.
what did you see? What did you do?
Well, the first thing that I saw was a lot of injuries in the floor, you know, people who lost limbs and broken legs, and immediately, you know, we start clearing the area I need in the ground.
And then wasn't this dude, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody might remember, I'm pretty sure this dude was at like a whole nother, like one of these types of events like a year later or something. He just happened to be there in a different state or something.
To help this young man, and I'm pretty much we up, stop the bleeding.
I should look that up actually. Could do it. You could do a whole breakdown of that easily, but it's it's kind of way past its time. That was what year 2013, I think. This one says 9 years ago. Golden Renaissance says they give him an accent so you can't hear the BS dripping from his lips. I think that too, like a lot of these people that they talk like English is their second language, it just automatically makes it more believable for the average viewer. They think they're either like a lower IQ person, or they think that if there's some type of inconsistency or something in the story, they think it's because English is not his first language or something like that. I don't know. I'll probably stay away from. I do kind of want to go a little deeper into that one, but fuck it, man. It's Friday night. I'm just not trying to get these strikes, man. But that was the Joker's. So these people, again, when you look at the camera, these people are just perfectly stationed. Literally a bomb just went off. Wouldn't it be in your best interest to get the fuck out of there? I don't know if I can show this one. Zoom in. I can't really zoom in on it. It's way too gory. But these people are like perfectly staged. And the people are well aware of where the camera is when they run by and everything like that. Let me see this liar again. What was this guy's name? Yeah, Jeff Bauman. That's it. Is that Davey? What's up, Jessica? I think it's Davey. So they look at they just put just enough, they put the makeup on his face. Just enough little red blood spurts and stuff. And then this part that I probably can't show, his legs. Go look it up for yourself. Ridiculous looking. Yeah, it was insane. That was one of the funniest, I shouldn't say funniest, but phoniest, I guess, ones. Start clicking these links out of here. I got way too many links on. I did want to get into this. So then the other the main guy she defended, and that is at that Supermax, is Theodore Kaczynski, the Unabomber. So to kind of piggyback on what I talked about with Benton that night, or not that night, that morning, and it was on the last live stream, I replayed it, but basically we touched on, the idea that this is like a counterculture honeypot agent actor type guy that they put out here for you. And they give you the book that they attribute that he wrote. It's called, what is it called? Industrial Society and Its Consequences or something like. I know I didn't say it right there. But it's very, very well written with, like way ahead of its time views. So then you got to ask yourself kind of where did that come from? So who knows, now that we see these like chat GTB type things, it could be something like that. And it could be, it could just be like some guy they found that lived this type. Maybe this Kaczynski character is loosely based on some person they found living that type of life or something that you never heard of. You'll never know who it is. Maybe that was a real type of manifesto. Yeah, Terrence McKenna, I do want to touch on that too. But one of the reasons, it's just a silly story that breaks down, and I think it gets into, for truthers or alternative researchers, it gets really into, I want to believe this because the things he says in the manifestos are so on point, whether he wrote it or not, and you resonate with that. But I mean, the whole story breaks down when you kind of examine it. The guy was so smart. They say he had 167 IQ versus, even Elon Musk, they say, has an IQ of 155. So this guy's insanely smart, and then starts mailing out packages with bombs as a war, somehow to go to war against technology or something. And then he gets all the newspapers to publish his manifesto by saying, you know, I'm going to keep doing it unless you do this. And then they just bend the knee and do it. Like, first of all, that wouldn't happen because there's no way that they could get a guarantee that this guy would stop doing that, right? So they could publish it and everything, and then he would keep doing it. If something like that was probably really happening, my guess is you would never even hear of it. The media is completely controlled from the top down. But when you look at how he committed the crime, what he did is he drove like, I don't remember, hundreds of miles away. It's been a while since I looked into it. He drove hundreds of miles away, and he put on dark sunglasses and a hoodie to put something in a mailbox. You got to ask yourself why. It would just be a dude putting a package in a mailbox. Nobody would think he could have done it in his own hometown or even a couple towns over, but they want you to believe he drove hundreds and hundreds of miles away and wore a disguise to make it even more obvious when he's dropping these packages in the mail or whatever. I think it's like a psychological boogeyman. This could be anyone. This could be your neighbor. It's, you know, a hoodie and a glass. This literally could be anyone. It's just like a white man. And there was not much information on him, really, right? I don't think at that time they even knew he was a guy living in the woods. I don't think that was even released. I could be wrong. $1 million reward for him. But it was just like a boogeyman to put out there. But then as soon as it does, you know, they break the story of who it is, and it's a white male, it's a survivalist, it's an anti-technology person. It's almost fits right in with the environmentalist agenda, as he's all about anti-technology and being self-sufficient, living in the woods. Jack Burton says his cabin is on display. It's a prop next to the Apollo capsule. Believe that. You know, here we go. He was moved from so is he not in the SUPERMAX anymore? Oh, he went to a prison one, or a medical one, I mean. Man, you can't even click some of these articles anymore. They want you to pay. No one's paying for these newspaper articles. So his bombings targeted scientists. But the reason I think truthers have such a hard time kind of separating this guy from the rest of the psyops is just, again, it gets back to the X-Files poster, I want to believe. I mean, everything is so on point in the book. The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. I'll just read one of these little quotes. Wait, I got a robo-reader now. Give myself a break here. Let me try it.
The Industrial Revolution and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. They have greatly increased the life expectancy of those of us who live in advanced countries, but they have destabilized society, have made life unfulfilling, have subjected human beings to indignities, have led to widespread psychological suffering, in the third world to physical suffering as well, and have inflicted severe damage on the natural world. The continued development of technology will worsen the situation. It will certainly subject human beings to greater indignities and inflict greater damage on the natural world. It will probably lead to greater social disruption and psychological suffering, and it may lead to increased physical suffering even in advanced countries.
Yeah, so to me, it's a truth or honeypot to get the people that want that. They can see who reads it, who buys the book. They can track that type of person. The person that would write him in the prison. Now they have your name and address. They know what you're interested in, what your ideology is. To me, that's what it would be. Meanwhile, this guy's out living some life while they tell you he's out there behind bars. Possibly. I can't say that for sure. There's just so many good quotes from the book. Was that Robo Reader? Was that Ewar? Not quite as smooth as Ewar.
Those who are most sensitive about politically incorrect terminology are not the average black ghetto dweller, Asian immigrant, abused woman or disabled person, but a minority of activists, many of whom do not even belong to any oppressed group but come from privileged strata of society.
So I think when you get into this alternative research, you'll super resonate with this because it's anti-leftist, hardcore, anti-technology, all about self-sufficiency.
The conservatives are fools. They whine about the decay of traditional values, yet they enthusiastically support technological progress and economic growth. Apparently, it never occurs to them that you can't make rapid, drastic changes in the technology and the economy of a society without causing rapid changes in all other aspects of the society as well. And that such rapid changes inevitably break down traditional values.
And again, super on point. Something written in the 90s talking about MAGA or the conservatives that as long as they get to dunk on the lib, right? Everything else can continue to go down the tubes. I mean, it's scathing, and it just makes me wonder how they got this writing. Who wrote it? Who's the real writer? And it could be, maybe that was this person's assignment to write something like this. Maybe he is the actual writer. I mean, there's no way you'll ever know. That's why I said everything. I can only present like speculation here. So to end the stream here, what I want to do is I want to play the video I have. Well, let me go first. Hold on. We're going to go to the video. I just want to show the people the video in case you've never seen it, about Terrence McKenna possibly being the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski, like one and the same person. And that's an interesting concept because they both are like super counterculture, but in very different ways. Where's that video? Here it is. Did Terrence McKenna play Ted Kaczynski? So maybe the guy's real name is something else. They look super alike.
So I saw
they sound alike. I'll play this. I'll just speed it up a little bit. No, not the end. No, Tina. I mean, I'm going to keep going for a little bit. Let me play this and drink some water. I'll speed this up a little bit in case you've never seen it. And I'll come back in a second. Hold on. Hold on a second.
This Unabomber series on Netflix, and I saw the preview to it, and you hear the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski talking on a recording, and I thought that it sounded just like Terrence McKenna, and I thought, dang, they look enough alike, sound alike. And then I looked into it, and I saw that they both went to Cal Berkeley like around the same time, so I was like, oh shoot, maybe I'm onto something here. So I looked it up, and I saw this post on Reddit that somebody was already onto the same thing a year ago. So I decided I was going to look into it, man. I thought this would be a fun rabbit hole to jump in. So let me show you what I found. First, if you're new here, what up? It's your boy Drew. I examine all this stuff from what I call post-conspiracy perspective, and that all these characters on the world stage are just that, actors put in front of you. You know, people like Greta, David Hogg, Donald Trump, and counterculture people even like Terrence McKenna and Ted Kaczynski. So let's dig into it. First here, it says Terrence McKenna and Ted Kaczynski are the same intelligence operative, identical voice, matching cadence, same worldviews. Both are self-described hermits who are vehemently against the system. Both were trained in major colleges under CIA programs around the exact same time. And other people found this thread because they were thinking the same thing about the voice, so they were able to find this Reddit post. So let's listen to their voices.
Yeah, Smiley, I'm definitely not going to play Terrence at 1.5. First, I'll play Ted Kaczynski and notice that you don't see his face ever, so I guess you don't really know who's talking.
The only way I can think that I might have been somewhat jealous of him was that when he was in high school, he always had lots of friends. He was socially successful, and I wasn't. And I may have had some jealousy about that, though I don't clearly remember that.
Now I'll play some Terence McKenna and you'll be able to hear.
Oh yes, definitely. Some sort of plant substance was prepared and ingested by a priesthood who then used the ecstatic experience induced by that plant as the basis for all of their metaphysical and philosophical speculations on the nature of the universe.
Then I'll go back to some other Ted Kaczynski.
Yeah, usually not all at once. I'll give you, let's say, I would say it's the deepest personal relationship that I ever had between, between my teens and about 1990 when I finally broke off with him.
Right. I mean, it is definitely really a close voice. You know, they were both born roughly the same year. Kaczynski was born in 42, McKenna in 46. They both have brothers that still give speeches to this day, but the brothers don't look anything alike. However, I didn't think the heights were enough of a match, if this is to be believed. Ted Kaczynski was billed as 5'9", and I could only find one source for McKenna's height on all of the internet, but maybe someone else knows. I just didn't see it. But IMDb, owned by Amazon, says he's 6'2", so I didn't think that was close enough to be a match. But it could just be build height too, so I just kept looking. I went and I looked at their handwriting. This is Theodore Kaczynski's handwriting. And you compare that to Terence McKenna's handwriting. So yeah, obviously not a match, but this could just be what they give you. But when you start just creating evidence out of thin air, that's when it starts to just sound like schizophrenia or something like that. And if you haven't figured it out yet, yeah, Terence McKenna died in 2000. But to look at it in this case, you're saying these are world stage operatives, and any birth date, death date, or anything like that is all for show. To me, these guys are both great examples of characters that are used to fool people, even in like the Truther movement or whatever. Because even though they're given to you by the mainstream, the people can identify with their ideologies. The mainstream's not going to give you any kind of real counterculture people that would be able to establish any kind of good change. And you always got to remember those writings attributed to Ted Kaczynski. You don't know who wrote those. Either way, you got two real slick talkers here. And let's look into the part of their lives that actually did intersect where they were at Cal Berkeley at the same time. And so there's this great article I found online about the Unabomber being a PSYOP, and it's written by Miles Mathis. I'll leave the link in the comments. But in this article, this guy doesn't put together or even question if they're the same person. He talks about how this guy here named Joseph Tussman, he ran what was called the Tussman Experimental College at Cal Berkeley. And Tussman was an Army intelligence in the 40s. And it says one of those who came in on the ground level of this experiment was Terence McKenna, who was recruited for the Tussman Experimental College in its first year, 1965. He was still there in 1967 when Kaczynski arrived at Berkeley. So I didn't see enough here to make a connection and say, yeah, they're the same guy, or even to say they're brothers, even though they look alike. However, I do believe either one of those is possible. But when you look at it from the post-conspiracy perspective, that these are multi-generational psyops to steer humanity in any direction they want to go. Here you have two mainstream characters marketed to people that have seen the absolute checkmate that humanity is in, and there's different ways to cope with it. You can go full doomer, Ted Kaczynski, bug out in the cabin. You know, they say he was tampered with in the Harvard drug experiments. They want you to think that's why his mind went astray. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the Terence McKenna character, hippy-dippy baloney and drug pushing. Although that does work for some people, I guess. Both of these guys here are marketed to people that are smart and understand that society needs to be overhauled. And maybe the reason they're at Cal Berkeley together in that program or whatever, and the reason that they sound so similar is because maybe what they're learning there, if it is some kind of spook school or something, maybe they're learning like different NLP techniques, neuro-linguistics programming, and that's why their cadence and the rhythm of their voice and everything is so similar. Possibly, I don't know. I just have to go with the evidence that I'm able to gather. Even though that same evidence is given to you by the system, that's all you can really look at. The other side of the spectrum, besides who they appeal to, is for the people that are all bought into the Babylon system. These people represent threats, and they teach them who to be weary of. For example, if you have a neighbor with a shed with a lot of tools,
that likes to talk about the government, back then when the Unabomber story is going mainstream, you're probably looking at your neighbor wondering if he is the Unabomber or that same type of character. Is he capable of committing the same notorious acts as the Unabomber? And probably not. It's probably just your neighbor's just a handyman or something. But the Babylon believer will see that and get paranoid and make that subconscious connection that the media is trying to get them to make. And the same as Terrence McKenna too. If you don't have the understanding of what Terrence McKenna's talking about, you're gonna think he's a real kooky and crazy guy and something to be feared. But I've listened to a lot of his talks, and there's lots of gold to pick out of the information he gives off, even though these guys are given to you by the mainstream and everything like that. Collectively, we all got to learn how to, basically just pan their work for gold and just take little nuggets from every source, because chat shouting out to Talcott. Shut up. Talcott is a modern day McKenna. Excuse me. But just the fact too that these guys would be on the cover of these newspaper magazines and be seen by everyone. So again, look at the Unabomber here looking at the camera as after they caught him. They know where the camera is. They're well aware. So here they are in the shed. Someone's taking the picture. Why would you need someone there taking the picture? This is a good picture here to me to show that, you'd be bringing this guy in the back door or something. Why is he just right out in the middle of the main street? They want you to see this. It's a photo op for the newspaper. They put a little bit of fake dirt on his face or something, put a little makeup on him. His hair looks fairly decently trimmed. They just messed it up a little. His beard is pretty neatly trimmed for a dude that's living in the woods. I mean, my beard looks worse than, I just have the little chin strap, and it looks worse than that after 2 or 3 days. This dude here wearing the vintage Carhartt right here. That's $150 right there. I don't know. To me, this one just reeks of like photo op. The camera's there. Here he is. He's got nice steel toes. Regular shirt, groomed beard, but then his jeans are all tattered up. Yeah, to me it doesn't work. Doesn't pan out. How many people are there taking pictures of this guy too? There's so many. There's so many images there. On an empty street. Look at, there's not even a car parked there or anything. So to me, it's just more likely that, man, is that Talcott? That's them when they pull Talcott out of the sheriff pulls him out of his home for squatting, not paying his bills. Excuse me, man. Need more water. So I ain't buying it. But what I do want to play, man, I don't think a lot of you guys have seen this. If you have, feel free to check out now, but this is long. I'll probably speed it up a little bit. This is covered. This is in the public domain. I'm going to play this. It's Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber's writing, and then these people put voices to it and animated it with Legos. So that's kind of funny, but it's very well made, and it's in the public domain. And the people in here will probably understand all the nuance of the writing of the material that goes on here. So let me play this, and then I'll come back after this. I'll speed it up a little bit. Hold on, it's not playing now. What's going on? Here we go.
Once upon a time, the captain and the mates of a ship grew so vain of their seamanship, so full of hubris, and so impressed with themselves that they went mad. They turned the ship north and sailed until they met with icebergs and dangerous floes, and they kept sailing north into more and more perilous waters, solely in order to give themselves opportunities to perform ever more brilliant feats of seamanship.
Shiver me timbers! This ain't the worst voyage I've ever been on. The deck is slick with ice. When I'm on lookout, the wind cuts through me jacket like a knife. Every time I reef the foresail, I blame near freeze me fingers, and all I get for it is a miserable 4 shillings a month.
You think you have it bad? I can't sleep at night for it's so cold. Ladies on this ship don't get as many blankets as the men. It isn't fair.
Chingado! I'm only getting half the wages of the Anglo seaman. We need plenty of food to keep us warm in this climate, and I'm not getting my share. The Anglos get more, and the worst of it is that the mates always give me my orders in English instead of Spanish.
I have more reason to complain than anybody. If the pale faces hadn't robbed me of my ancestral lands, I wouldn't even be here on this ship, here among the icebergs and Arctic winds. I would just be paddling a canoe on a nice, placid lake. I deserve compensation. At the very least, the captain should let me run a crap game so that I can make some money.
Yesterday, the first mate called me a fruit just because I love to suck cocks. I have a right to suck cocks without being called names for it.
It's not only humans who are mistreated on this ship. Why, last week I saw the second mate kick the ship's monkey twice.
One of the passengers on the ship was a college professor.
All this is just awful. It's immoral. It's racism, sexism, speciesism, homophobia, and exploitation of the working class. It's discrimination. We must have social justice. Equal wages for the Mexican sailor, higher wages for all sailors, compensation for the Indian, equal blankets for the ladies, and a guaranteed right to suck cock. And no more kicking the monkey!
It's discrimination. We have to remember discrimination. We have to remember
We have to demand our rights.
You all have good reasons to complain, but it seems to me that what we really have to do is get this ship turned around and headed back south, because if we keep going north, we're sure to be wrecked sooner or later, and then your wages, your blankets, and your right to suck cocks won't do you any good, because we'll all drown.
But no one paid any attention to him, because he was only the cabin boy. The captain and the mates from their station on the poop deck had been watching and listening. Now they smiled and winked at one another, and at a gesture from the captain, the third mate came down from the poop deck, sauntered over to where the passengers and crew were gathered, and shouldered his way in amongst them. He put a very serious expression on his face and spoke thusly.
We officers have to admit that some really inexcusable things have been happening on this ship. We hadn't realized how bad the situation was until we heard some of your complaints. We are men of goodwill and want to do right by you. But, well, the captain is rather conservative and set in his ways, and may have to be prodded a bit before he'll make any substantial changes. My personal opinion is that if you protest vigorously, but always peacefully and without violating any of the ship's rules, then you will shake the captain out of his inertia and force him to address the problems of which you so justly complain.
But they nevertheless did as he said. They gathered in a body before the poop deck, shouted insults at the officers, and demanded their rights.
I want me higher wages and better working conditions.
Equal blankets for women.
I want to receive my orders in Spanish.
I want the right to run a crap game.
I don't want to be called a fruit.
No more kicking the monkey.
Revolution now!
The captain and the mates huddled together and conferred for several minutes, winking, nodding, and smiling at one another all the while. Then the captain stepped to the front of the poop deck and with a great show of benevolence announced,
"Good news for everyone. The able seaman's wages will be raised to 6 shillings a month. The Mexican sailor's wages will be raised to 2/3 the wages of an Anglo seaman. And the order to reef the foresail will be given in Espanol. Lady passengers will receive 1 more blanket. The Indian sailor will be allowed to run a crap game on Saturday nights. The bosun won't be called a fruit as long as he keeps his cock-sucking strictly private. And the monkey won't be kicked unless he does something really naughty, such as stealing food from the galley. That's all.
The passengers and crew celebrated these concessions as a great victory, but by the next morning they were again feeling dissatisfied.
Blow me down! 6 shillings a month is a pittance, and I still freeze my fingers when I reef the foresail.
I'm still not getting the same wages as the Anglos, or enough food for this climate.
We women still don't have enough blankets to keep us warm.
What injustice! What a disgrace!
Why should I have to suck cocks in secrecy?
That's right. Why should heterosexuality be privileged?
What about the monkey? Won't someone think of the monkey?
Yes, what about the monkey?
It's really terrible that the monkey gets kicked for stealing a bit of bread from the galley, and that the women don't have equal blankets, and that the able seaman gets his fingers frozen. I don't see why the bosun shouldn't suck cocks if he wants to. But look how thick the icebergs are now, and how the wind blows harder and harder. We've got to turn this ship back towards the south, because if we keep going north, we'll all be wrecked and drowned.
Oh, yes. It is just so awful that we keep heading north. But why should I have to keep cocksucking in the closet? Why should I be called a fruit? Ain't I as good as everyone else?
Sailing north is terrible. But don't you see? That's exactly why women need more blankets to keep them warm. I demand equal blankets for women now!
It's quite true that sailing to the north imposes great hardships on all of us. But changing course towards the south would be unrealistic. You can't turn back the clock. We must find a mature way of dealing with this situation.
Look, if we let those madmen up on the poop deck have their way, we'll all be drowned. If we ever get this ship out of danger, then we can worry about working conditions, blankets for women, and the right to suck cocks. But first, we've got to get this vessel turned around. If a few of us get together, make a plan, and show some courage, we can save ourselves. It wouldn't take many of us. 6 or 8 would do. We could charge the poop deck, chuck those lunatics overboard, and turn the ship to the south.
Interesting idea, but I don't know.
I don't believe in violence. It's immoral.
I'm terrified of violence.
It's unethical ever to use violence.
The captain and the mates had been watching and listening all the while. At a signal from the captain, the third mate stepped down to the main deck. He went about among the passengers and crew, telling them that there were still many problems on the ship.
We have made much progress, but much remains to be done. Working conditions for the able seamen are still hard, and the Mexican still isn't getting the same wages as the Anglos. The women still don't have quite as many blankets as the men. The Indian Saturday night crap game is paltry compensation for his lost lands. It's unfair that the bosun has to keep his cocksucking in the closet, and the monkey still gets kicked at times. I think the captain needs to be prodded again. It would help if you all put in another protest as long as it remains non-violent.
I'll swing! Don't turn your back on me, mate.
It isn't fair.
Why should I have to suck cocks in the closet?
Injustice!
Suck my cock!
Pinche gringo.
We want equality.
Revolution now! To the captain!
More good news for everyone. The able seaman will be given gloves to keep his fingers warm. The Mexican sailor will receive wages equal to 3/4 the wages of an Anglo seaman. The women will receive yet another blanket. The Indian sailor can run a crap game on Saturday and Sunday nights. The boatswain will be allowed to suck cocks publicly after dark. And no one can kick the monkey without special permission from me. That is all.
Yes!
The passengers and crew were ecstatic over this great revolutionary victory. But by the next morning, they were again feeling dissatisfied and began grumbling about the same old hardships.
You know what he did last year?
Damned fools! Don't you see what the captain and the mates are doing? They're keeping you occupied with your trivial grievances about blankets, wages, and the monkey being kicked, so that you won't think about what is really wrong with the ship. That it's getting farther and farther to the north, and we're all going to be drowned. If just a few of you would come to your senses, get together, and charge the poop deck, we could turn this ship around and save ourselves. But all you do is whine about your petty little issues, like working conditions and crap games and the right to suck cocks.
Petty? You think it's reasonable that I get only 3/4 the wages of an Anglo sailor? Is that petty?
How can you call my grievance trivial? Don't you know how humiliating it is to be called a fruit?
Kicking the monkey is not a petty little issue. It's heartless, cruel, and brutal.
All right then, these issues are not petty and trivial. Kicking the monkey is cruel and brutal, and it's humiliating to be called a fruit. But in comparison to our real problem, in comparison to the fact that the ship is still heading north, your grievances are petty and trivial, because if we don't get this ship turned around soon, we're all going to drown!
Fascist!
Counter-revolutionary.
Fascist!
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 The passengers and crew went back to grumbling about wages and about blankets for women and about the right to suck cocks and about how the monkey was treated. The ship kept sailing north, and after a while it was crushed between two icebergs, and everyone drowned.
Sorry. Hilarious, I think. Man, my voice is like going. I've been coughing. I had the mic muted. With a burgeoning degradation of our habitat and increasing dependence on technology and exponential depletion of natural resources and I can't talk, and an influx. I can't do it. Oh man, I just coughed so hard, like my voice is gone. And an influx of apathetic nihilism in our youth. I can't do it. I gotta shut it down. We've seen but the tip of the iceberg. Excuse me. So that was written by Kaczynski, I think, in the 90s. Or it was definitely written after he was in that SUPERMAX prison. That was the able seaman. I don't know, I just thought that was kind of fun. You have to be at a certain level of understanding to get with that. So with that said, yeah, we got SUPERMAX prison. Who knows what it is? Government facility, top secret government facility. Maybe a little bit of it is a prison where they can just kind of stash little agents' profiles, kind of sit there, so you don't have to think about them. Their memory hold while they're doing something else. In my opinion, and it's purely speculation, I can't prove it. Theodore Kaczynski, possibly the same person as Terrence McKenna. Probably not, but maybe. And definitely, though, some type of like truth or honeypot for the people that figure out where that, like the cabin boy in the video, the people that figure out society as a whole is headed for its own imminent destruction, and then people are fighting over what he called trivial things in the video, and that's exactly what you see today. So I think that's it, brothers. I'm gonna shut it down. I probably would go live on the backup channel. My voice is like giving out right now. But I do appreciate your time, and peace out.